They come through in perfect formation. The green flag waves and the 2015 season is underway as Martin Brundle jumps away from Jan Berlin.
I think the car will be ready. We'll be ready, no doubt. There's not much time left to the race. I'm trying not to think of it too much, but still there's a lot of things to finish, a lot of preparations. Plus we are living in different time zones, but at the end of the day we're a team, and we're a team for a reason.
It's very addictive. Once you get into it, you just want to do more and more. The whole atmosphere, the whole feeling behind it is amazing. I mean, even if I cut down on sprint races, I'd still keep doing endurance races.
If someone asked me, what would you, if you had all the money in the world and you could go race whatever you wanted, I'd be racing FIA Endurance Championship or World Touring Car Championship, something like that. Something in the endurance lines. I like the longer races, I like strategy, I like the fact that you need to be consistent over a 2-hour period in the car. So there's many different aspects to endurance racing that people don't see, and I love it.
The tricky thing will be keeping the mental focus for 2 hours behind the wheel, which is going to be difficult with 95 cars on the track. It's a lot to think about. It's going to be quite intensive mentally, more than anything, I think.
Abu Dhabi-based engineer and avid racer Jonathan Mullen leads an amateur racing team to take on one of the toughest endurance races on the planet, the Dubai 24 Hours. Zetanet Racing Team consists of motorsport enthusiasts from every inhabited continent of the world. The team must quickly gel together to take on this mammoth task.
I think the 24 hours is like no other race you will ever do. It really, really takes it out of everyone. We won't sleep much before the event, we won't sleep at all during the event. There will be a lot of stresses, there will be a lot of incidents will happen. We don't know, we can't plan for those. But really the buzz when you're on the grid, when there's 100 other cars at the same time, when the lights go out, this is fantastic.
Endurance racing, you've got to be here, you soak up the atmosphere, the strategy, the heartache, the joy. You know, it's a bit like a marathon. It's an extreme form of sport. You've got, cars going around for 24 hours, drivers putting everything on the line. It's a tough, tough event.
They race for their honor. If you win the 24-hour race of Dubai, or even if you win class in the 24-hour race, then you are somebody. You go home with a very nice cup. There's no prize money.
It's the biggest endurance race in the region and in the whole of Asia, really. It ranks right up there with the Le Mans 24-hour, the Daytona 24-hour, Spa 24 hours. You have a field where of the 80, 60 are very high level competitors. And no one is in it just to be part of it. They're in it to win it.
I think the works teams or the quasi-works teams are always going to be the favourites, who are all running very, very highly prepared motor cars. And there are other people who have managed to cobble something together that will last the distance.
Yes, we would like to finish on the podium, top step if possible, but we have to remember we are fundamentally a bunch of amateurs. We all have day jobs. Except for 2 or 3, we're not mechanics by profession, so we don't work in the industry.
Most of the professional teams have the ability and the time and the skills, and as well as the people to have this perfect preparations. For the amateurs, it's a much harder job because they have to do it after their daily job in the evening.
We have 4 drivers from 4 different nationalities. We have Umar Khan, who I've known for a number of years. He's a very successful and competitive racer here in UAE. He's got a lot of 24 hours experience, which we are looking up to actually. We have Jared McLeod, who's coming from Australia. He's a professional V8 Youth Series racer. He's got a lot of endurance experience also, so this will help the team. We have Graham Davison, who's coming from Scotland. He is used to driving GT Cup cars in UK, which is very high powerful machinery, and I hope he will manage our little Honda, you know.
ZDNet Racing, of course, they have some pedigree. Jonathan won the NGK Racing Series. He's a champion. I think they took a step back from the National Series to focus on the 24 hours, and it's a brave decision. You've got to take the hat off to it. It's not an easy project. You probably could have just bought a seat with an international team. Truth be told, it's a tough challenge. It's just not, you know, arrive and drive and win. There's going to be a lot of blood, sweat and tears for them to actually succeed. But you've got to applaud the bravery of the project and yeah, the ambition.
Like Umair, Jonathan has experienced success as a driver for other teams in the past. But this time, the challenge was much greater: to win with his own team.
As a team together, I mean, I'm very proud of everyone who's involved and very appreciative. You know, people are not getting paid to do this. It's from a labour of love that we have all these guys involved. One of the most important things about the 24 hours is planning and strategy. We rely on Ian for this in terms of tyre changes, in terms of fuel stops, in terms of code 60s, and making sure that the drivers are absolutely aware of what's happening on the track at all times. It's a really, really critical and pivotal role to the team.
Every team needs a good combination of mechanics, managerial and admin side. I handle the admin and the strategy, and I liaise with the mechanics during the event and during the testing before, so that we know what the car is capable of and hence what strategies we can employ during the event to cover any eventuality. We're racing against 30 or 40 GT3 cars. It's just a spectacular experience, and you come out for weeks afterwards thinking, well, what have we just done? And it grows on you, and you do it once and you think, never again. 6 months later, I fancy a bit more of this. You know, so it's very infectious. The highs can be high, the lows can be exceedingly low. The important thing is not to let your head drop, keep battling on, and it's not over till the checkered flag finishes. 2 years ago, we were involved with a different team here, and one of the class competitors was 10 seconds a lap faster than us. But we kept the car on the track, and John drove the last stint as it happened. He brought us over the line 27 seconds ahead of second place after 24 hours. We were leading the class, we weren't leading the class. We got to the end, we knew the car was catching us, but we kept a level head, we kept John informed, and we beat a professional team. That is the ultimate high, and that's what we live for.
I think what's going to be really interesting about this year's 24 hours is that it's going to be a real personal event for me. It's our team, it's our car, and it's come together with a group of guys who are really passionate friends and motorsport enthusiasts. So we're all in it for each other, and it's going to be a real exciting time for sure. It's always on your mind. There's always something to follow up on to make sure something is happening. It's a never-ending thought process until we get to the race line, to be honest. At the minute, as you can see, we have a little bit more than a bare shell.
Long-term Dubai resident, Pakistani advertising executive Umair Khan is the most experienced member of the team. With 17 years of racing experience and 6 24-hour races already under his belt, including a Class 2 win in 2013 and 3 consecutive wins in the UAE Touring Car Championship, Umair's expertise is highly valued among team members.
Mainly now focusing on endurance racing, because what I find in endurance racing is it's not only racing, there's a lot of other things involved, teamwork, a lot of preparation goes into that. It's not a 20-minute race, it's a 24-hour race, but it literally takes 24 months to prepare for it.
Preparation is vital. If you're not prepared for this race, if you don't have every box ticked before you arrive here, you're not in the game, because you know the bar has risen substantially over the years. The smallest mistake, the smallest oversight will be punished.
That's kind of the joy of this race. Even if you're a Quasi-Works team, even if you have all the power in the world, even if you have crack drivers and ace mechanics, it can all go horribly egg-shaped, and you could find yourself sitting in the sidelines while somebody who's spent much less money and has much less experience and probably much less time runs away with the prizes.
But to run away with any prize, the team must first build the perfect car.
What we've done is we've removed the engine and gearbox, we've stripped all the ancillaries out of the car. The reason for this is because we're going to repaint the entire engine bay to be silver colour. And the reason for this is that during the event, if we have any coolant leaks, if we have any oil leaks, if we have any problems, we can easily see it and we can fix it.
You've got to build the car to full speed for 24 hours. It's much harder on the car. You've got a much higher fuel consumption. So I mean, that's what I'm sat on here. This is a fuel cell. Originally it would be much smaller. This is a 120 litre fuel tank. So we can do, fingers crossed, 2 hours between fuelings. Because it's inside the car, it's all got to be contained in various fireproof boxes. So we've got an aluminium box for the cell, steel box for the filler, sounder and fuel pump connections. And then we've got this pipe up here to the roof for the filling point. Race cars have to go fast, they've also got to stop fast. But stopping fast wears out the brakes. We don't want to be changing pads every couple of hours like we would do. So we've got big brake setup, very thick calipers, very thick pads. So it gives us a lot more margin for wear, so we can run a lot longer between changing pads. You know, you've got to be careful how you tune the engine. You don't want to tune the engine like a drag car, because it'll blow up after 20 laps. We know we've got a good engine in the car and we've got a good spare, because you know it happens that you have to change the engine in the middle of a race. I've been there, you know, leading and then you blow an engine. So that's it, change an engine, hour gone, your lead is gone completely. You know, no driver in the world can make up an hour.
Now we have almost exactly 7 weeks and things are starting to get a little bit stressful. We're still awaiting some parts to arrive, such as our gearbox. It's due to be shipped from the US in a few days, and also brakes. I've been chasing the supplier and he's not answering, so I don't know where the brakes are. I hope they're coming soon. Okay, there's a few complications, but in the end I think it'll work out. Now we've got to go and meet our sponsor, so at least we have to look professional. So let's do it.
Our relationship with Jonathan developed during the course of the stadium in Al Ain. We knew that Jonathan was involved in racing, 24-hour racing. We knew he had success last year. We liked the idea of BAM International being on a racing helmet on a guy that has won races. And we felt that this would meet our image and where we wanted to go as a company.
We have a meeting with Medio Rotana to discuss our contract, because again we have an agreement in principle a number of months ago, but we haven't signed a contract yet. They're very kindly putting up our drivers during the event, who are coming from Scotland and from Australia, and also providing the catering. So this is really fantastic. So We need to go and make sure they're happy.
I said, okay, it's time. We need to. To check and see where we stand.
But the ingredients are there. If we can just have the right chef. I know we have you guys for catering. We're assured to have the right chef there, but we need the same with the race, and it will all go well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
The youngest driver on the team is Graham Davidson, an oil and gas professional more used to driving the powerful GT3 cars in sprint races. He will need to adapt to the smaller engine and slower pacing for longer periods of race.
I think it's just something that I've grown up with. I've always wanted to be the best at whatever I've done. So whenever I've tried something, if I've enjoyed it, I'll continue to do it until as good as I can be at it. And I won't settle for 4th or 5th. You know, I have to be on the podium. Once I'm on the podium, I'll keep going until I'm first. And that's the same for cars now as it was for bikes when I was younger. Day to day, Graham, it's totally different. It's sat behind a desk, it's in an operational yard. My job is a sort of a contract supervisor in the oil and gas industry with pipes and pumps and oil rig equipment. It's a complete contrast to being at race circuits.
With track day at the Autodrome scheduled for tomorrow, Graham will be getting his first taste of the car and the opportunity to familiarise himself with the track.
Very apprehensive, anxious, not sure what to expect. It's going to be a long flight tomorrow, and I want to get to the track and get the first practice out of the way, settle my nerves and, you know, catch up with the guys and all the rest.
Guys, where's the car?
I got to the track this morning at 7 o'clock and I got a text message saying, quick, come to the garage, we've got problems. So I got here and then found they'd had to take the subframe off, the sump out, flush the valve cover. So we're just putting it back together again now, taking a bit of debris out the oil. Fingers crossed, problem solved. After the dyno, they routinely check the oil. You look in the oil for any metallic particles, any other debris, anything that shouldn't be there. And they found some green paint chips, maybe from the valve cover, we don't know, and some metallic particles. So that's enough. You don't go like that. It's a lot easier to stop the problem. Take the sump off, flush the engine, and off to the track shortly.
It's almost 2 hours into the session now. We're really in a bad shape here and we need to get this car on track today. It's absolutely critical. Please send as fast as possible.
So while they're working on that, I'm just going to make the most of what time is available, and I'm going to drive Jonathan's road car on the circuit so that I can learn the track.
While Graham was out on track in Jonathan's road car, the race car was finally ready to be transported to the track. Tempers were frayed, and patience was running low. Time was also running out on the session. Jonathan, already suited up, wasted no time in taking the now modified car on its first outing on the track.
Today wasn't a particularly good day for us. We came with every intent of doing a full 3 hours testing, and things didn't go particularly well from early in the morning, and then subsequently on track I did 4 laps, which allowed me the opportunity to test the initial handling, the initial power and the initial setup of the car. But unfortunately when I handed over to Omer on his first out lap, the car completely stopped.
I was expecting this because this is the first time we've taken the car around after a year, and then we've taken it all apart. So things, you know, they were supposed to go wrong. I mean, everything worked, everything is working, it's just that we need to tweak it a little bit. This was a test that everything is functional. Now, the next time around when we come, it'll be all calibrated and they'll work in sync.
Graham flew all the way from UK, didn't get an opportunity to test the car, so really for me that's a huge disappointment today.
Yeah, so unfortunately there was an electrical issue with the car that meant that it was stuck out on track and couldn't be recovered in time for me to get out. So a bit disappointing, but I did do a lot of laps in the Audi, so I'm pretty comfortable with the circuit.
With only weeks left to race day, and all teams busy with preparations, the event organisers were also doing their last-minute checks on a surprisingly sunny winter's day at Creventic headquarters in the Netherlands. The Creventic team are led by a man who knows only too well what it is like to be racing in a 24-hour endurance race.
I've done many 24-hour races myself, and it's amazing. In 2005, in March, I had my first license. In April, I had my first endurance race. And actually in September from this year, 2001, I had together with Ivo a 24-hour race in Barcelona. And from that moment on, we are sold. It's like a virus. It's amazing.
This is the most international race of the series. We see it grow in the other races as well, but I think because it's our flagship, it's a 10th edition, we have a lot of media exposure around the race, so it attracts different teams, different drivers from all over the world. The big logistical challenges are most of the time the time frame, also for the teams, because the cars are going to be shipped end of November, beginning of December. So after their own championships, they have to prepare the cars, all the stuff, ship it in a container. Second challenge is get everybody into the container, loaded, strapped, and on the way to Dubai. When it comes to Dubai, you have also the customs and trucking the cars to the track, and after that putting them behind the pit boxes, and they can start with preparing the pit boxes. It's always like a unique experience, and you talk with the teams already for months, and it's really nice to finally see them again, meet them, and start the show, which we were preparing for months now. So.
5 seconds left. This is where you go harder. Accelerate. Accelerate. Let's go, Jonathan. Push hard.
It's really time to get serious. We have to increase our physical stamina. Mentally, we have to prepare. There's going to be a lot of incidents, a lot of unforeseen events will happen, and we have to be ready to prepare for them. This type of workout can help. It prepares us, prepares the body, prepares the mind also, so it's really good.
Jonathan shows up to every camp and really attacks each workout. We have a protocol called Tabata, which is 20 seconds of effort, 10 seconds of rest, 8 times, and he really attacks each one of those like a lot of people don't. Tabata, you have to go 100% effort for the 20-second increment, and most people shut it down around 15 seconds. He really pushes through to even 21 seconds sometimes, which is really good, and it shows that he has a lot of mental fortitude.
Obviously, if you're fit in the car, you're going to be consistent and fast, and you're going to make the right decisions at the right time. If you're struggling physically, you then, so much of your brain power goes into trying to keep yourself physically aware that you become mentally unaware, and then you have mistakes. My fitness regime leading up to an endurance race and cross-country running, which I've done a fair bit of. I do a lot of boxing. Boxing really does get the heart rate up. It's good for your core strength and your upper body, and it's something I love to do.
I guess these sports and hobbies, the biking and the car racing, is a great way to vent angers and frustrations. It's like a punch bag at the gym. You could just use your strength to be competitive, to go faster than you've gone before, and drives you on a bit. It incentivises you to do well. And I don't want to let the team down, so I need to make sure that I'm fit for it. I need to keep up the work at the gym and keep on the bike, and I think I'm young enough and healthy enough that it'll be all right.
It is now just days before the race will be underway. All teams have safely arrived in Dubai, and it is the night before scrutineering. Team Zettenet's car, however, has still not made it to the track. They are carrying out final adjustments to make sure everything is in order for inspection by the FIA officials.
Last minute panic now.
Yep.
Everybody wants to do something, but you can't because the guys at the alignment, they're doing the alignment. We want to help them, but we can't, just to speed up the process. So the car has reached that stage where it just needs to finish certain things in which not everybody can help. It should have been finished like 2 weeks back or a month back, I'd say. Yeah.
It turns out to be a long, laborious night for the team as they pore over every detail, nut and bolt. The car was finally ready to be scrutinized by next morning, but with one slight problem: a cracked windscreen, which could have tragic consequences. The scrutineering was at last underway, and the FIA official was notoriously strict about applying the rules to the letter. The team steered clear of his way as they anxiously watched their car being inspected. And then, the moment they had all been waiting for, the car gets given the all clear, pending a screen change. But the team don't have a spare screen, and without one, they cannot race. They need to find a solution quickly so they can make it to practice.
You know, tired last night, woke up this morning, got 2 texts. One was that Kiwi who's coming from US with our brakes, he missed his flight. And the second bit of bad news, as you can see in front of us, is that last night when the guys were finishing some small piece of work, they broke the windscreen. And we don't have a windscreen. We're supposed to be out testing now. It's already 5-10 minutes into the test session and we're behind. I think I can sense the team is a little bit down in terms of the drivers. We're expecting to be out by now, and you know, I feel it's my responsibility to make sure those guys are on the track and that the car is proving confidence. So it is a bit difficult at the moment, but we can't start blaming each other. We need to just pull together and get it moving. Because this car is right-hand drive, we're in UAE, which is left-hand drive. And this car was never ever sold in UAE. You know what I mean? Hi, Haggy. They're cutting the 3rd screen. And what, you know, are they going to give up soon, or are they going to keep going, or what? Your fingers crossed. You know, we are cutting a screen which is not for this car. So we're taking a bigger screen, putting our screen over it, and cutting around it to make it the same size as our screen. They've tried twice now and broken 2 screens. They're cutting the 3rd one now. So I don't know, will they get, you know, sooner or later they're going to give up and say, we can't do it, guys, sorry, you have to go somewhere else.
While other teams were making the most of the practice session, Team Zettenet were feeling increasingly frustrated in the pit, listening out for any good news from the glass company. Their fate literally hung in the hands of the glass cutters. It was already more than halfway through the session when the new screen finally did arrive, but mechanics needed time to fit the glass and for it to set, making it too late to go out on the track. Gerard and Graham have still not driven the car, let alone on track, and Umair only has half a lap under his belt. This was an opportunity missed, putting the Zettenet racing team squarely on the back foot.
To be honest, this is a really laborious and taxing day. At this point it feels really tough and it hasn't even started yet, so tomorrow has to be a better day.
Although we've not been out on track today, you know, I've been up here looking at the lap times of the other cars in our class. We have a bogey time where we can't cross. If we do, we get put up to the next class. One of the cars has done that, which is the Mini, and that's a fast car. We know that's a fast car. Maybe they were just pushing to see what it could do. They could throttle it back tomorrow. You know, it's the tortoise and hare routine. The car that won the class last year was third slowest in qualifying in its class. The only lap you need to finish first on is the last lap of the race. It's constant observation and management throughout the race, which is why once the race starts, I don't leave here. I will sit up here and just keep an eye on the lap times of ourselves and the competitors. A lot of the cars are Renault Clios, and they're built by Renault. They are factory built cars, so they're pretty bulletproof. They've got very good sequential gearboxes. They are designed and built for racing. They're not as quick, they're not as powerful, but they are monotonous in getting around the track. Lap 57, they've got a good pedigree. You know, they've done this event 4 or 5 times. They've been pretty consistent with the car they've used. They know what works, they know what doesn't work. You've got the wild cards, you've got the diesels. They don't burn much fuel. They don't put much stress through the engine and gearboxes if they don't tune them to city power. Most of the teams, they are professional motorsport teams. Okay, yes, we have DAS with 2 or 3 guys, but they're not a racing team. They're a car maintenance garage.
The only professional driver in the team hails from the other side of the world. 32-year-old racing driver and mechanic Gerard McLeod from Melbourne, Australia.
Well, being born into a racing family, a heavily involved racing family, my career started when I was a baby really, but following my father around and going to race circuits from when I was a kid and idolising him. So the natural progression from that was to want to get behind the wheel. So when I was 15, I had a go-kart purchased for me, but that was it. I was told to, I had a lot of brothers and sisters, so there wasn't a lot of money going around. So it was, we bought it for you, now you have to keep it running. So I had to learn how to build it, maintain it, etc. So that started my career, and I did go-karts for many years, never at a very high level, but at a state and a club level, and I had a varied amount of success there, and learnt my racecraft in go-karts. I pride myself in the way I go racing, and I go racing quite uniquely. There's, I'm a one-man band, and that's down to every extent. So every race car I've ever driven, I've built, prepared, repaired. I've done the sponsorship, I do the logistics, I do the flights to and from the event. I grit my teeth and blood, sweat and tears to get to every race meeting. So I know I can feel good in the fact that I can sit back and say that every lap I've ever done in any race car, I've completely earned.
The Autodrome gets off to a very foggy start on qualifying day. Visibility is seriously hindered as teams converge for drivers' briefing. With almost 400 drivers and their entourage in attendance, this is by far the biggest gathering in the history of the 24-hour series and the highlight event of the year at the Dubai Autodrome. Teams Etinet check in and take their place in the conference room to listen to instructions and rules from race organisers and FIA officials. It is now time for the final official practice session before qualifying will begin. Not only is this the last opportunity for the team to get out on the track, it will also be the first time they will have driven the car on track at speed. The team know they are behind schedule and are both nervous and anxious as Jonathan takes the lead and goes out on track first. Time is now short. The car must perform perfectly, and the team need to adapt to the car quickly and set a good pace before going into the qualifying session. All eyes are now on track as Jonathan struggles to find the required pace. He is slower than expected Umair gives the thumbs up for a driver change, and Jonathan is called back into the pit to give Umair the chance to do a stint. As Umair climbs in, the team run quick checks on the car, making sure everything is in working order. Umair, however, is haunted by bad luck again, and less than half a lap in, there is an accident on track requiring a red flag, just as he was settling into the car. He has no choice but to come in.
Again, I just got a half a lap. Every time half a lap, this was much better than before. I'll go out again. Accident on the track, so it was red flag. And my belts came all open. So I was insecure, but that's what I could have still driven. But suddenly I saw the red flag, and there was a Ferrari at turn 15, went into the wall. It was bad, so I think it'll take them a while. Now the session is over.
Graham has waited a long time for his first outing in the car, including the missed opportunity at the track day a few weeks ago. Graham goes out for his much anticipated laps and tries to settle himself into a rhythm, as he needs to quickly understand the behaviour of the car with only hours left before going into qualifying. Man and machine must find harmony in the shortest possible time if the team is to have any chance of posting a good pole position time. Graham's times improve with each lap, and he soon starts posting the fastest lap so far for his team as he comes in and hands the car over to Gerard, who will now get in the car and onto the track for the very first time ever. The only professional driver in the team was about to show what he could do with the car, but first, as usual, he would need to feel the car out and see if the setup suited his driving style before having to quickly learn the track and get his braking and shifting points established. Gerard was quick to find pace as he started settling in, but there was still room for improvement.
At the moment, it's very hard to drive to a pace, but if we can tune the car up a bit better, it'll be a lot easier. So I'll give the guys a hand and we'll tune her up, but it's going really well. So.
With practice now over and qualifying about to begin, cars started to roll out onto the pit lane, looking to go on track and outrace each other for a better spot on the starting grid. Zetternet Racing Team opted to sit out for a while to observe the time set by their competitors in the A2 class. The fastest lap time was soon set by the 111 car of Krennic Motorsport. The number 86 Mini, setting lap times above all others yesterday, is today posting times much slower than Team Lap 57 and the 111 Renault Clio. Lap 57, being a local team and a previous class winner, are very familiar with the track, consistently setting the fastest times. Now, with target times to beat in hand, Team Zetternet decide it is time to go on track and give it their best shot. The decision is taken to go with Gerard at the wheel to fight for pole position. Gerard wastes no time in setting a good pace and quickly starts posting some very respectable times. As the tyres and brakes reach optimum temperatures, Gerard comes to within striking distance of pole position. Things are finally looking up for Team Zetternet. The car is running fast. The team have adapted to the car, and Gerard is only seconds off pole. Ian advises Gerard that he is in fourth position behind the Mini, and all he needs now is a bit of clear track with relatively little traffic, and he can mount his attack on pole. But disaster strikes again. Despite Gerard's efforts to pick up the speed, the car slows down to an ambient pace and is obviously in some serious trouble. With position 4 on the grid now guaranteed, Gerard limps the car back to the pit. Whatever the problem is, it needs to be diagnosed quickly, and the car needs to be race ready and back on track in the shortest possible time, as in just a few hours they will have the only chance to get some night practice before race. The team must now pull together and not let their morale drop.
On the last 2 laps we had some issues with overheating, so as you can see behind now, the guys are going to remove the cylinder head. We're going to replace it from a spare engine we have. And reason being, we can do it much faster and we can still go out and do night practice late. We will not meet the start of the night practice, but we can go out maybe with 40 minutes to go. You know, the biggest concern is that we don't know why it's overheating, to be honest. We don't know, is it a tuning issue? Is it a air vent issue? You know, we'll get it fixed, we'll get it, no problem, but in the back of our minds now, we don't know what is the cause yet, so this is a problem, you know.
As it turns out though, engine trouble is not the only problem the team have right now.
We had an issue from a regulation point of view because the car came in problem. The guys started immediately working on it, but the checkered flag flew. And when the checkered flag flies, you go into what's called parc ferme, which means you can't work on the car. You have to put tools down because potentially you could be gaining an advantage to the car. While this was happening, I ran down to the stewards to find the clerk of the course. We had a bit of a discussion about why we're not there, why we're working on the car, and what sort of penalties can apply. They can go from disqualifications, all kinds of not good stuff. So what we agreed with that he would allow us to continue with the repair to get out on track, and basically the times we set during qualifying cancelled, then we have to start at the rear of the grid tomorrow. We have got the pace today, so yeah, not all bad.
As the other teams line up for night practice, Zetternet Racing Team make use of the time to go over race strategy.
If you want to find more pace in the car, I believe it's going to happen in braking.
You brake early, finish all the shifting before the turn. No shifting during the turn because that stresses the wheel and the drivetrain as well.
So the plan was drive at 80-85%, come back in and let's get some time on the track, you know.
With time ticking away, the mechanics are still trying to find the cause of engine failure. Night practice has already been green flagged while the team are hoping to identify and fix the problem and get the car out. Even only if for a short while, as Graham and Gerard have never raced at night, and this would be their only opportunity to get some practice before the race tomorrow. It soon becomes apparent that changing the cylinder heads is not going to solve the problem. The spare engine is brought in, and the team looks set for another long night in the pit, while other teams reap the benefits of driving in the
dark. We've removed the engine, we've talked it through, we've engineered a solution to get more airflow in to make sure that we don't have a reoccurring problem tomorrow. It's going to be a long night. It's now 10 o'clock almost, and I don't think we'll finish before 2 a.m. at this stage. It's going to be a really tough night for everyone, and everybody's gelling together, everybody's really pushing. All of the drivers are helping out. The downside of it is there will be a lot of fatigue. The team will be tired tonight, and tomorrow may be a struggle, but it's the adrenaline and the team spirit that will keep us going.
We're not the only team, there's lots of teams that have got cars in pieces, engines out, people have hit the wall and cars are destroyed, but everyone's rebuilding. You hear it, it's busy, lots going on, so it looks like it's just part of the deal.
While morale was running low, the only consolation came with the arrival of the long-lost brakes from the United States. It is now the early hours of the morning, and the team have got the car race ready again, in time for the morning warm-up just before the race. They are now about to see if the night's work was in vain or not. Gerard is given the honours to take the car out on track first and warm it up. He hands the car over to Graham, who doesn't waste any time putting it through its paces and setting the fastest time in the class. Ian is finally smiling.
Right, so that's been warm-up just finished, and the good news is we've just finished first in class. Graham did a couple of time laps, very, very consistent, so we're going to use this now to set the target time for each lap. So all the hard work last night of changing the engine, doing the suspension setup has obviously paid off. And we'll have a debrief to see if we need to make any more changes, but we're all happy at the moment.
So it went a lot better than the previous one, and I think 6 seconds quicker than what I'd done yesterday. So big improvement. The car handles better.
It's more stable under braking, so it's getting better.
Yeah.
A lot better car than it was yesterday.
It is finally time to race. As the crowds pour into the stands, the Zetinet Racing team are about to step up to the challenge. Having spent months in preparation, the moment of truth was now before them, and it was time to make it all pay.
We're going to start with John, A, because he didn't want to finish the last stint, and 2, it's his car and his team. So we felt he had the right to start the car. Graham will go in second, because Graham has never done an endurance race before, he's never driven at night before. So we want him to get a feel for the race in daylight. Third or fourth will be Umer or Gerard. If it's still daylight, we might put Gerard in so he can have a few laps at day before it goes into night. If it's dark, we'll probably run with Umer and then just run Gerard last. We plan to keep the same order throughout the race.
Sitting on the grid with 100 other cars around you, the noise, the ground shaking, the adrenaline, you have to know that you have a team behind you. You're not only racing against other teams, you're racing against the clock, tactics, strategy, fitness, both mentally and physically, and you have to go and you have to deliver.
Cars will now do 2 formation laps. These are slow laps, and overtaking is not allowed during these laps as cars must keep to their grid positions. And a rolling start will then be given once the officials are convinced all cars are in their correct grid placings. Ian and Heike look on from inside the pit as the cars are about to get rolling. They are just as nervous as Jonathan. The Works GT cars make up the front of the field, while the A2 class cars are at the back. Jonathan will be starting from last position on the grid and will have his work cut out to move up the ranks. The lights are off and the race is on. The Dubai 24 Hours is now underway. Jonathan pours on the power on the starting straight and is quick to pass the number 90 seat Leon Supercopa. But passing an A3T class car does not move him up the ranks, but it is good for his morale. 89 race cars and drivers are now hurtling towards the first turn. This is a sight to see, as never have so many raced on this track at once before. It is a record for a 24-hour endurance series start. Jonathan soon has his sights on the number 120 Peugeot. He will need to find the right place and push hard to make a pass. For automobile enthusiasts, today is a day made in heaven, as the fleet of supercars including Mercedes, Ferraris, Aston Martins, Porsches and BMWs are now fighting for supremacy on the track, as they go neck to neck into the turn, almost making contact. Jonathan, in the meantime, is preparing for his first assault on the car in front. He soon spots the opportunity and dives inside on the turn to make his first pass on an A2 class car. Adnan, watching from the pits, is a happy man indeed. This is the team's first move up the ranks. Jonathan settles in behind the trailing trio of 2 Clios and a GT86 as he sizes up the challenge ahead. He knows this track inside out and has the upper hand in terms of track time against most other drivers. Meanwhile, the Mini is having another good day on track and leads the A2 class cars. Right behind the Mini is a heated battle between the Lap 57 car and the diesel-engined Red Camel team. Jonathan moves to the outside to challenge the Clio, but a Code 60 is called as there has been an incident on track. During a Code 60, cars must retain their positions and not exceed 60 km an hour until the green flag is waved again, signalling the restart. The car in trouble is the SP3 class Ginetta G50 of Italian outfit Nova Racing. Jonathan had just started finding his pace and rhythm when the Code 60 was called. He needs to retain his concentration and make a good restart when the race is green flagged. This will be a good opportunity for overtaking. As cars are bunched up, a good restart could give him valuable position. The green flag is out, and Jonathan is lightning quick to react, and quite literally catches the trio ahead napping. He makes the triple pass on the inside to take him into 82nd position. He has now climbed from 89th on the grid to 82nd on track. If the team can keep this up, all the hard work they will have put in will surely pay off. The GT86 Toyota, however, is not happy about losing the position and gives quick chase, trying to regain the place lost at the green flag restart. The fight is now on between Jonathan and the 124 Toyota. Jonathan makes a gear shift mistake, costing not only valuable seconds, but the position gained, giving his adversary the chance to pass. It is the Renault Clio that is now hot on the heels of the Zetternet Racing team car. But Jonathan knows this track, and its braking points better than most drivers on track. He brakes late and dives to the inside again to regain the position lost. The pit lane Toyota attacks again on the straight, using the advantage of higher top-end speed, and makes a move to the inside as Jonathan comes across to shut the door, leading the GT86 into the turn as both cars get caught in passing traffic by the bigger classes. The GT86 Toyota fades away. Half an hour into the race, and Zetternet Racing team are now safely in 80th place. Having started in 89th place on the grid, this is encouraging news indeed for the team. Suddenly, all memories of the past few days seem a long distance away. Jonathan allows the GT3 class cars by and gets back on his racing line as he sets the car up for yet another turn. He is now driving in position 13 in the A2 class, with his sights firmly set on the Clio of Apo Racing. Coming down the starting straight again, and the number 27 Mercedes SLS is now inches from the bumper of the Zetternet Honda as they enter the first, second and third turns. As Jonathan bears off the apex on turn 3, the team Zetternet Honda is hit from behind by the 27 Mercedes SLS of Car Collection Motorsports. The car is in trouble. Jonathan pulls away from the racing line and off the track. He slows down as frustration is riding high. He can do nothing but watch all the work he has done up until now fall to pieces as cars pass him by. Just when the team was finally and firmly on their path to success, the gods above had other plans. Bad luck has come back to haunt them yet again. He has no choice but head for the pits. Ian is visibly stressed as the number 48 car of Zettenet Racing Team limps down the pit lane to be met by the crew. The car needs to go inside for inspection and repairs. Time is precious. But this is not a sprint race, and there is still plenty of time left to make up for time lost. The team, however, must hurry to save every single second, as pit time must be reduced to a minimum. Tensions are high, and Jonathan and his co-drivers can do nothing but wait for the mechanics. The team now feels the enormity and the gravity of the challenge ahead. This was never going to be an easy task, but bad luck and other people's mistakes they could well do without.
The accident happened in turn 3. As I was going into turn 3, I was on the racing line and I got hit from behind, unsighted. I don't know what hit me. The guy said it was a Porsche, I didn't see it. It has damaged the rear suspension arm. Luckily we have a spare, we just got it a few days ago, and they've swapped it. There is a few differences between the suspension left and right now, which may cause a small issue, but we have to go back out, we have to keep racing. I stepped out of the car because of the time it will take to repair, and I can't get back in now because I stepped out. These are the rules. So Graham will go in now and he will do a stint, maybe better. He's fresh. I'm a little bit tired after that first shock factor, but I'll be okay later, you know.
As the crew work feverishly on the car, valuable time is being lost to adversaries. They cannot afford to lose any unnecessary time. It has taken the better part of 10 minutes to change one of the rear suspension arms, and the team has already slipped back into last position. All the good work has been undone, and Graham will now need to go out and do his best to get the Zettenet Racing Team back into the game. Not only is the pressure now on Graham's racing abilities, the team's hopes lie on his shoulders. The car is now ready to go racing once again. The team have done a great job in changing the left rear suspension arm in under 10 minutes, keeping the team in the race and hopes of a podium place still alive. In a race that takes 24 hours to complete, 10 minutes can be negligible and easily made up with some good driving and strategy. Almost all teams will encounter problems. This is part and parcel of a 24-hour endurance race. Graham leaves the pits carrying with him all the team's hopes as the team celebrate the quick fix and morale is high once again. Drivers by now have all settled in and found their rhythm. The pace is now reckless as engines, tyres and brakes are all up to racing temperatures and teams are all clocking very respectable times. Graham tries to find pace in the car and work his way through traffic. Racing an endurance race with many different classes and hence speeds is not an easy task. A repeat of what happened earlier could spell disaster for the team. Graham is more used to shorter races in more powerful machinery, and unfortunately he has not really had enough time in this car to familiarise himself. He has nonetheless set the fastest lap time in the A2 class during his short outing earlier in the day. He now needs to find that pace again to start catching up with the other A2 class cars. There is something wrong with the car though. Graham is slowing down. The nightmare is back. The team are perplexed as he heads straight for the pits and the car is immediately taken inside. Graham stays in the driver's seat, not wanting to lose his stint. If a driver steps out, he must stay out for a certain period or pass the driving to another driver, and presently none of his team members are suited up. To be able to solve any problem, the crew must first diagnose it, and this could take a while. Heikki tries to get the lowdown from Graham in a frantic effort to identify the fault. Graham meanwhile remains in the car, hopeful he will be back on track very soon. But based on the information provided and the initial checks carried out by the crew, things are not looking good. Faces tell all. Graham reluctantly vacates the driver's seat and hopes are dashed in the team's Etinet pit area once again. The bad luck that has been haunting them all week will not relent. The team do their best to put on a brave face and tackle the problem, but nerves are wearing thin as morale hits an all-time low and is clearly reflected on the faces. The team are now looking at the prospect of another engine change, a process that could easily take up to 2 hours. This means that they would have no realistic chance of podium, and at best, they can be also-rans. To move even one place up the field, they will need to rely on other teams having accidents and incidents. The team are devastated.
From yesterday we had the engine failure which was caused by temperature, overheating of the car. With the engine change we replaced all the radiators and the cooling in the car. We had an incident 30 minutes into the race where we were hit by another car, damaged the rear corner of the car, which meant we had to come into the pits. And what we feel was that in the garage when the car was in there was a lot more heat build-up, which would normally be washed off when you're driving and you have air going through the radiators. So we think that may have started to overheat the engine, even though it was off, the residual heat. So we've gone back out again, but we feel because of then, the damage is probably already done, so the pressure was increasing and overheating, which caused another engine failure. So we've gone to replace the engine again. The new one has just arrived. We're hoping to be back on track by 7:30, 8 o'clock, so hopefully within 2 hours, 2.5 hours, should be back on track. With the engine which we've got now, it's yesterday's engine we've rebuilt, but we've taken it back to stock fittings. We've detuned it back down to lower horsepower for longevity and reliability so that we can get out and get maximum time on the track. The team has done an amazing job. This is their second change in 2 days. So we'll go back out, we'll keep fighting.
As the hours pass and chances fade, the sun also begins to set on the Dubai Autodrome. On track, the racing is as fierce as it has ever been. But in the pit lane, things are different. Team Etinet are not the only ones working frantically to get back into the race. Many other teams share the experience as the pit boxes are now full of professional and amateur teams sharing the same fate. It doesn't matter if you have the best driver or the best mechanic in the world. At this stage of proceedings, the name of the game is staying in the game.
You know, we've been upbeat, we've been hopeful, we've been positive all day. It's really getting to us now. It has been a really tough struggle to do this race so far, and but nobody's given up yet. We're going to keep going. It's been a bit crazy on the track. There have been a few accidents, a lot of code 60s, and quite a few retirements. So on the bright side, by the time we get out, there's still 18 hours racing left. We will finish this, we will put the engine in, we will go racing, we will see what happens. But we really need to get on the track and see.
The car is race ready yet again. The crew have performed another miracle on the back of hours of labouring and sleepless nights. The engine has been replaced and final adjustments made. To the delight of the crew, it fires up first time. But, unfortunately, out of the 6 hours since race has begun, the team have now spent a total of 3 hours and 20 minutes in the pits. Their hopes of any result have now faded. Team Etinet are now resigned to the fact that they are racing purely for the honour of finishing this race, regardless of position. Graham, yet again, needs to rise to the challenge, as he will lead the team out onto the track. He no longer needs to push the car to the limits or chase others. All that is needed now is a smooth, relaxed drive to preserve the car for the next driver, so the team can cross the finish line. Graham has never even practiced in the dark before, let alone raced. But with the pressure off, all he has to do is coast along and maintain a relaxed pace to hand the car over. Graham drives down the pit lane once again to rejoin the race. With a little more than a quarter of the race under their belt and 3/4 still to go, the team need to look after their car. They are, after all, on their last engine. To get any result, the team must first finish. Graham must look out for the engine and gearbox and try to keep temperatures down as best as he can. And this is exactly what he is doing. He is keeping to a very similar pace with the other cars in the class, keeping close to the Mini's pace, but not racing too hard. The team know that they are in for the long game strategy now. As Graham gets more and more laps under his belt in the darkness of the Dubai Autodrome, the Zetternet Racing team can now relax and reflect on the last few weeks. The pressure is finally off, and all they are aiming for is a finish. As Graham comes off the starting straight and into the turns 1 and 2, there is quite visibly a problem with the car. Smoke is not only pouring out of the exhaust in the back of the car, but filling the inside of the car. Fearing something is on fire, Graham pulls over and announces the situation to the team.
I've had this pull over, the car was smoked out and something's hot, I need to get out.
The crew in the pit are devastated, yet again. As Graham evacuates the vehicle, the team's body language says it all. Never wants to quit, their determination and stamina are now being put to the ultimate test. The car is towed into the pits, but there is no longer any urgency about the crew's movements. Resigned to their destiny, they pop open the bonnet one more time to get to grips with the problem at hand. The team are destitute. They know that sooner or later they will have to accept defeat. They have already performed above and beyond their calls of duty. Emotions are high again, and the team is visibly teary-eyed when faced with the facts.
We've had to come to the realisation that we can't continue with the race. We've had to retire the car.
It's a bitter pill to swallow at the minute. It's a sobering time for us, and it's cruel, and they say motorsport's cruel, and it has been to us this time. Say, from the bottom of my heart, everybody worked so hard. I was really proud of everything that everybody did, and I'm really sorry it didn't work out. We deserved a lot better than this, and we worked so hard, and we should have done a lot better. From my side, I'm really sorry. I did my best to make sure we had the right things in place, but it didn't work out. We'll do it again, I hope, one day, and I just have to say thank you to everyone for all your inputs, all your efforts. It really was the hardest working team I ever saw, the most dedicated team I ever saw in terms of effort, so I can't ask for any more, never could, and I appreciate everything. Great bunch of people, every single one of you, and all of you really, really excelled a lot, and really proved your dedication, your focus, your real blokeness, and that's not something that everybody has, so highly appreciated, really.
The next morning, with the race still in full swing, teams had settled into their positions and were heading towards the finish line. In the top class, the Mercedes SLS of the Black Falcon Racing team was comfortably leading, while the Mini in the A2 class had relinquished its lead to VDS Racing due to mechanical failure only laps before the end. Such is the cruel nature of motorsports. Team Zetternet turned up in full force to take their place on the pit wall and take in the final laps of the race. It was time not only to celebrate the winners, but also to reflect and ponder on the weeks gone by.
So it's the end of the race. We really had anticipated and expected to finish. It wasn't to be. We were far from it, and looking forward, we have to sort of grab ourselves together, think about the positives of the event, think of how well the team worked together, and build on that specifically. This is the best thing we can take out of this event is the real camaraderie and team spirit that was developed. So it's good for us that we move forward on that basis.
The team looked on and cheered as the victors took to the podium. It was not to be their turn this year.
We thought we had the right ingredients, we thought we had the right car, the right gearbox, the right engine specifications, everything, even the right drivers, but it just wasn't to be this time. So we can't really think about podiums anymore. We just have to think about starting from scratch, getting the car back, doing a shakedown in March, and making sure that we start racing again and build up the confidence again. Otherwise we quit, and we're not going to do that. So we start positive.